Hey everyone, it's John here. So a few weeks ago, I went to one of those wine and paint events. Those are the ones where you sit down, you have some wine while an instructor gives you the step-by-step instructions to paint something, which usually comes out a lot nicer than what you'd be able to do on your own. You used to find a lot of these on Groupon, where for $40 you'd spend 2 hours painting and then bring home your final product at the end of the night. Well, today we talked to Harriet Mills, and she is the CEO of Wine and Design, which is the third largest paint franchisor in the country. So what this means is that if someone wants to open up a wine and design shop, Harriet and her team will train them on how they've done it. They'll help them find a space. They'll provide tax assistance, the marketing help. Obviously, the franchisee, who's the one who's actually opening the shop, then gets to use the Wine and Design brand. So for this, a franchisee will pay an upfront fee of $25,000 and then a 6% royalty fee on revenue back to Wine and Design Corporate. So right now, Wine Design has 62 locations. They want to get into 100 by next year. They started off back in 2010 with only one shop, and we talked to Harriet about how she got that first shop off the ground, expanding that into franchising, and also why her kids eat a lot of turkey sandwiches.
Before we get started, we'd like to thank our sponsor, MailChimp. Over 8 million businesses use MailChimp to send newsletters, and we're one of them. If you'd like to start your own, visit MailChimp.com.
My name's Harriet Mills. I'm with Wine and Design, and we are located in Raleigh, North Carolina.
So Harriet, before we get started, I want to talk about something. I read that your first business was a lemonade stand.
Oh, God.
Which is near to my heart because that was also my first business. Did you actually have, was your first business actually a lemonade stand?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was in college, and I was, summer, and I needed a job, and I pushed the lemonade down the Myrtle Beach Strand.
So this wasn't like out of the back of a wagon when you're 8 years old. Like this is
No, this was a lemonade stand. Like, I'm not sure if you've been to Myrtle Beach before or any beaches, but they have these stands that have lemonade, those icy lemonades in it. And they, you pretty much work on tips. You'd push it down on the beach when it's high tide and low tide, up and down all day, every day.
It must make decent money selling lemonade on the beach.
Yeah, I think I made, $100 in tips or more a day. Mm-hmm. Just kind of pushing. Got a tan, nice tan. I got to meet some people. Mm-hmm. It is what it was. It was fun. It paid my rent and my booze.
Wow.
So
I thought when I read lemonade stand, I thought it was like the back of the wagon kind of thing. That was my first $16, I think.
Well, I did when I was young. I did sell lemonade and brownies, and I was probably the number one person that sold the most lemonade and brownies behind my house on my street. So you can go with that too.
You were showing promise at a young age of selling lemonade.
Yeah, I love people. I love talking to people. I would even go to my corner store up the road. I'm from a real small town called Whiteville, North Carolina, and we could ride our bikes everywhere. So me and my friends would literally go to this called the corner store, and we would have $1, and I would negotiate with the salesperson to give me 2 for 1 or whatever, just so I could have more. And they would do it. And I don't know if it was a small thing or if it was my, people person ability to make people like me. I don't know. I remember in college, I would go back and forth to Whiteville, and there was this called, was it like Rack Room or something? And it was like sold discounted clothes. Mm-hmm. And before, the 7 jeans and like the, designer jeans kind of came out. Yeah. Where actually people could afford them. I would buy them, for $20, and then I would take them back to my dorm room and be like, guys, look, and I would, mark it up. And it was a good way to make some extra money too.
Have you ever had like a corporate job, or just these series of rackets that you've progressed through, Harriet?
I did have. So right out of college, I started working for a corporate company called Henry Schein. Okay. Which is a dental company. Okay. I had huge territory, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and D.C. And they literally threw me out there. I was, how old are you, 21, out of college? Threw me out there, hardly did not have any training. I had to go to prisons, public healthcare clinics, and sell dental supplies.
So the way that I understand it is the way that you started Wine and Design is you ended up going to a paint party. Was that while you were working as a dental salesperson?
No, I worked for the dental salesperson for 4 years, and then I retired.
You made it.
And then I went, because the sales, the real estate economy was just crushing it. So I was like, I'm going to be a real estate agent. And I'm going to sell and make a lot of money. So I couldn't pass the damn test.
Oh, no.
The real estate test. I think I took it like literally 9 times. I'd missed it by 1 every time.
Are you are you not a good test taker?
No, I'm awful.
Oh, no.
Man.
It is awful.
Because, don't take this the wrong way, Harriet, but it's not a hard test. It's not supposed to be particularly hard. It's just make sure that, you don't have, people who know nothing going through it.
I know. I'm just not, I like to sell. I don't like to test. I don't like to learn it. I just want to go do it.
Okay. So what happened after the real estate attempt failed?
So then I started going back into trying to look for sales jobs, and I actually landed a job with Vietri, which is a Italian china, where I sold to like boutiques, where you would register for China when you get married. And they are out of actually Hillsborough, which is outside of Raleigh. And I worked for them for 2 years and kind of traveled the coast up and down as well. And it was fun. And then the economy, went to shit. So everybody was getting laid off, which I was one of them. I had a 6-week-old son at the time, and I was in charge of paying bills. My husband paid the mortgage, I paid the bills. So we were scrapping. We didn't know what to do. And I also wanted to be with, had a flexible job where I didn't have to go to a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
So we went to South Carolina and went to a paint and sip studio, and 2 bottles of wine later, it was kind of down history. So it was fun. It was blank canvas. I can't draw a lick, and literally drunk out of our minds when we did it. And the next morning I woke up and my painting was actually good. I was like, holy, this is awesome. Like, this was fun. Raleigh needs this. So we took our chance and presented it to some investors, the idea, and they gave us a little bit of money and paid them back within 6 months. So
what did you need to raise money for in the beginning?
Rent, supplies, paying ourselves, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And honestly, we didn't even raise a lot of money. I mean, it was like $8,000. I mean, that's...
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It wasn't like, that much money. So anyway, like I said, we paid back the investors very quickly.
What year was this that you started the first Wine and Design?
When we opened the first Wine and Design was 2011. No, 2010.
And did Wine and Design start as a franchise, or just start it, you just wanted to open up a shop? And
we opened up a shop. Honestly, and I'll be honest, like I had no idea about what even a franchise entitled. Like, that was like the furthest from our minds. And our first artist couple that we hired, actually out of my sunroom from Craigslist. So I can't believe we even did that. We literally interviewed artists in my house from Craigslist.
How does an artist interview go? Do they paint something for you?
We kind of make them pretty much teach us, kind of like what they would do in a typical class. I'll sit there and be that annoying customer and be like, oh, wait, slow down, or I can't do this, just to see how they react to that. So it was fun. It was fun to interview franchises, but I look back, I'm like, I had my 6-week-old son upstairs. I was drinking coffee in the mornings, getting them to come to my house. I'm like, God, they could have completely slaughtered me. But it was fun. So back to the franchising. So the Carrie studio, the Marianne and Craig, who are our first artists, came up to us like, they were a rock star artist. They really helped build the business, and they're like, we want to open up our own. And they signed a non-compete with us, and we were like, well, we want to give this to them because we really want to support people that work for us. So we allow them to open up the first franchise, which is, in Cary, North Carolina, and they've been our number one franchise since. So, since we put them on the map, we had people emailing from 3 hours away, 2 hours away. We're like, we got to figure out what franchising is and go for that.
Wow.
And that's how it started.
Mm-hmm. And what types of folks do you generally attract?
Honestly, women.
Yeah.
We have a lot of retirees that want to start this and do something fun. We have a lot of teachers that are, not getting paid and their schedule sucks and they want to, get paid and have fun doing this too and making a lot more money. We do have a couple of graduates right out of college doing this and they're, rocking it. So it's kind of all over the board.
Mm-hmm. And what are the costs involved in getting one started?
The franchise fee is $25,000, and after that, the expenses to opening, depending on the location, so it could range from, $5,000 to $10,000 for that extra expense for supplies and rent.
Okay.
And then after that, it's it's just really low cost.
It seems fairly simple to conceptualize. You got to pay for your paint, you got to pay for your rent, you got to get people through the door. It seems like an approachable franchise as opposed to a McDonald's or something like that.
It is, and that's the thing with especially our competition. Potential franchisees talk to me, the CFO, the founder, and that's what I do. Like, I don't send them to robots that kind of are trained to say whatever. I'm me, and I'm gonna be me. If they ask me, hey, can I make $1 million? No, you cannot make $1 million off this company. Like, it's. It is what it is. It's a paint and sip. We're open 2 hours, 2 hours from 6:30 to 8:30. Like, it's, obviously we want you to work more than that, but it's a fun, easy franchise. And I know, grant me, I have a lot of franchisees that are making a lot of money, but then I have, other franchisees are just sitting back making shoe money.
So what? Yeah. What's like the high end for a normal or like the top 10% of a franchise and the bottom 10% on earnings?
I mean, the gross is, high is around 450.
Okay.
The low could be 75. You know what I mean? So but you got to understand, we have 25 studios in North Carolina, and a lot of the studios have, some populations of 15,000 people, so it's, and they're not, paying as much rent, and they're mainly teaching the classes.
Yeah, so 75's not bad, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's because the biggest overhead in this business is rent and your artists. And if you can become an artist, and you don't have to become an artist, but if you can teach our kids classes, which we have a huge Art Buzz Kids division, which is bringing a ton of money in if you do it right.
That's cool.
Because parents will spend a lot of money on their kids.
What is Art Buzz?
It's just one of our divisions. Okay. It's our Art Buzz Kids division. We do camps, we do after school classes, we do kids. It's just kids.
Are you saying bus with an S or buzz with
like
a Z?
B, like B-U-Z-Z, like a B.
Don't you think that's not a good connotation when it's a wine and design?
You have to see our logo.
That's
we
not
have
what
a
it
B
is?
in the Art
Okay.
Buzz.
I thought it was like you brought the parents in, they got drunk, and the kids painted.
Hey, that we have always thought about having like a little nanny service. That's always kind of a drop off where you can get drunk and get Uber to take you home or something with the kids.
Totally.
Craig, if it's okay with you, I want to back up and go back to, because we've talked about kind of the franchising model, which I really wanted to talk about. I want to go back to, we've only heard a little bit of how Harriet started this. So you started this first location for $8,000, and that paid what, your rent, your paints, and some tables?
Tables, aprons, those kind of things. And then Groupon. Groupon back in 2010 was hot. Living Social was hot. We ran a group. I can't remember if it was Living Social or Group. I think it was Living Social because that was probably the first one. Yeah. And we sold like 10,000. I mean, it was crazy. So we got that check in. We thought we were rich. We're like, oh my God, yeah. And people were just slamming in. And then we got on a TV show, a local TV show in North Carolina, PBS. here, and they did a huge thing on us as well. So it kind of, all the stores lined up.
You sold 10,000 Groupons?
No, I'm just exaggerating.
Okay.
But we sold a ton. I mean, it was a lot.
Because I was trying to do the math on that. That's 10,000, 45, $45 a pop, or even maybe cheaper for $20 a pop. That's that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
They're still in debt from Groupon.
Yeah, exactly. It was a lot of tickets.
Okay, so how many stores are you guys at now?
We have 62 locations.
Okay, and what's the plan for the future?
We're hoping to get to 100. That's kind of, for by next year. That's kind of our plan. We're slow movers. We just started marketing like literally last month on franchising. It's all been word of mouth and me doing it. So we're putting some marketing dollars at this point, kind of spreading the word. But we also want to keep it. We want to make our franchisees happy and make sure they're growing at a good pace as well. So. That's kind of our plan.
Have you, do you guys have locations or thought about locations in other countries?
Actually, I was talking to a friend today that is from France, and she is interested in going there. I've got to look up and figure out the logistics of how to do that. But we always have ideas.
I feel like you could really knock it out of the park by putting it in like kind of touristy vacation destinations in Europe. Like, that's my wine and design that I did in Florence. And oh man, yeah, I'd totally do it.
Well, I was actually in Puerto Rico when I was somewhere, Turks and Caicos or something, last summer, and walked in, and there was a guy that worked there teaching a wine and design to like 6 of their people that were staying there, kind of one of those activities. And we do that like in Myrtle Beach and, team up with the hotels. But it's the only problem is it's hard to transport stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Back home and stuff, that kind of thing. But we do have canvases and we do have bags that do that.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask, wine and paint franchises in general, not just yours, have kind of grown very quickly.
Yeah.
And you might look at it and wonder if that's a fad. What are your thoughts about that?
Honestly, that's one of our number one questions we get from people. And the reason why I know that we'll keep on going is because we add so many divisions. It's not just a paint on canvas. We also do like Pinterest nights, and we're looking in flower arranging. So that's why wine and design is so broad, the name, where we can actually add to, and not make it a fad. And I honestly, everybody wants to be a singer, I feel like, and everybody wants to be an artist. So I don't know if this will go out, because it is a therapy type thing for people, and it's also just a fun thing as well, where you can drink and actually socialize with your best friend without being at a bar and being hit on and spending a bunch of money, and you can't hear. So that's what I believe.
Yeah.
As long as our competition and ourselves, we don't put locations on top of each other, and we're kind of respectful for each other, I think, we all can, have a piece of the pie. It's just a matter on how people want to play the game.
Yeah. Do you ever miss kind of because franchising is a kind of an interesting business, because your customers, your clients are the franchisees, it would seem like. Do you ever miss kind of not being in front of the end consumer as much?
I do miss it. And you never know, one of these days I might open up one on my own and do it. It's, with a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old and a big business and a husband, it's hard to do everything at once.
Yeah, you've got 2 kids, a husband, and you got a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a lot of dedication. I mean, put it this way, I do not cook. So my point I try to I was like, I'm going to do this, go on Pinterest. I'm going to do all this, crock pot stuff. And, you can freeze them and, just dump them in the morning, and first go around, burn it. I'm like, how do you burn stuff in a crock pot? Like, I don't understand. But I did it. So, but other than, it's fun. I still have flexibility. I can go just to soccer games and stuff like that. So it still works out good. And my COO owns the Durham location, so I can go there at any time and have that customer experience as well.
Who does do the cooking?
Nobody. My husband cooks some. We eat a lot of turkey sandwiches and grilled cheeses.
Everyone's very thin in the Mills household.
Yes. We are. I'm like giving my child chocolate milk and milkshakes. I'm like, eat this, but no. I mean, it's good. I mean, and one day I'll be able to cook again or learn how to cook, maybe.
Well, you've retired once before, so.
Yeah, exactly.
You know how to do it.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Salt of the Earth. You've just heard from Harriet Mills. This week in our newsletter, we share with you the first painting that Harriet made that she thought was so good and eventually led to her founding wine and design. So go to our website, saltpodcast.com, and sign up for our newsletter to check that out. Next week, we talk with Joe Ray, who's a fish distributor from Portland, Maine.
My deck boss, his name was Frog. I remember him telling me if I didn't do my job, he was going to take me in the fish hole and smack me around. And I was like, I just don't think I want to go in the fish hole with you.
Disclaimer, this episode is highly entertaining.
So one thing you might not know is that with each episode, we write a whole newsletter about it. So we have extra photos, we have some extra interview content, we share links to the stuff that people talk about, and we send it out every single week with every episode. So if you'd like to stay in touch with us, visit saltpodcast.com. And by the way, we use MailChimp to make that possible. So thanks again to our sponsor, MailChimp. And if you'd like to sign up for your own MailChimp account, visit MailChimp.com. See you next week.